The year is 2023. The price of shooting film has gone up once again. You may be in one of two positions. You can no longer afford to shoot film because of increasing prices, or you couldn't afford to shoot film in the first place because it gets so expensive so fast. What options are you left with? If you're like me, you're in the second group where you couldn't afford to start shooting film. But I love the look and the feel of photos shot on film. I began editing my photos to feel more like film. During my research, I came across a company named Dehancer. They make plugins for photo and video editing software that helps you capture that film look you desire. So I reached out to Dehancer and they were happy to let me try out their software. The thing is, you will never be able to 100% capture the feeling of film without actually shooting film. But with Dehancer, you can get really close. Combined with my Lightroom presets, I get results I am very, very happy with. So I've got a couple photos currently in Lightroom that I'm going to edit and then take into Dehancer and play around with some of the settings and see what we can do. So I'm just going to start off with some really simple basic edits. I'm just going to throw standard on there. Let's go ahead and throw moody. Let's lower the highlights a little bit. Maybe add a little bit more in there. So we're going to go ahead and open this photo in Dehancer and play around with some of the halation and the bloom settings. Dehancer does make a copy of your raw file in a TIFF format, which makes it easy to go back and forth and be able to tell the difference between what it looked like before Dehancer and what it looked like after back in Lightroom. Typically, if I'm editing my own photo with my own preset, I will not apply any of the film simulations that Dehancer has. I will just go with the original. Then I will go down to the halation and see what we can do. As you can tell, it adds a very soft red halation to a lot of the highlights and a lot of the edges. I find that typically you don't want to go overboard with the halation, so when you apply it and turn it on, it's usually already at a pretty good spot. You can play with a couple different things. You can increase the local diffusion, and that will make it a little bit more intense. Same with the global diffusion, it will apply the diffusion to more areas of the image. And then you can also turn on a mask mode and tell where all it is applying the halation. You can see it is applying a lot more to the image when you turn it all the way up. So typically you don't want it to apply to anything besides the edges of objects in your frame. As you can tell, bloom very much makes it look like you have some kind of mist filter on your camera. So it's a great alternative if you don't want to put a mist filter on your lens. And you can just go in and do it here. And it looks very good, honestly. I'm surprised it doesn't look very artificial. They do a very good job. Typically when you apply it, it is a pretty strong bloom, so I will try and bring it down just a little bit. And I think combined with my preset, it looks very much like a photo that might be mistaken for being shot on film. Obviously, you want to be very careful. You don't want to go overboard with the halation or the bloom, or else it just starts to look very obviously not film and very fake. But I just wanted to give you guys a little bit of an example of what you can do. Now, typically the halation and the bloom works very well if you have a photo that does have strong highlights in it. So we're going to go ahead and edit this photo real quick. I'm going to apply standard, gold. Might actually adjust that a little bit more. Bring that down. And I think that's a good place to start. Let's open it up in Dehancer and see what we can do. Now, even though I've already applied my preset, I am going to play around with some of the film simulations that we have in here and see what we can do. I actually really like how this one looks. Even that one looks pretty good as well. I really like the Fuji Chrome Velvia on here, so we're going to keep this on. Now it does put a lot of film grain on the image, obviously, it's film, but I do like to tone it down just a little bit. There we go, we're gonna leave it at that. And then it already has the halation applied, so obviously we can adjust and play around with how much halation we really want on here. Let's see, they have amplify turned down. As you can tell, when you're looking at the image as a whole, it looks very subtle, but when you kind of zoom in and look around, you can see the halation on the highlights on this fence here and on this light post. I think it looks really good. It doesn't look overdone at all. Then playing around with the bloom, I probably will tone it down just a little bit. And there we go. I'm very happy with how it turned out. Although personally, I just wanted to give you guys an example of if you do throw one of their film presets over your edits. While personally, I probably would not post that or share it online, It is a very good place to start if you don't want to use Lightroom presets and you want to edit a photo entirely in Dehancer. Now for the next photo, we're not going to apply any presets to it. We're going to do a quick little auto setting adjustment here in Lightroom and just kind of see what we get, how we feel about the tones, and then we will import it into Dehancer and apply one of the film presets. As someone who's not really familiar with all of these actual film stocks, I'm not sure how truly accurate they are to the film. But let's go down here to some film stocks that people might be a little bit more familiar with. We've got Fujichrome right here. I think that actually looks really good. You even have a Lomo purple in here, which is really cool because I've always wanted to figure out a way to edit photos like this in Lightroom and have it look good. Now I don't need to worry about that because I have Dehancer, which will do it for me. I really like how the Kodak Aero color looks on here, so we're gonna go through and look at this. It doesn't look like there is a ton of halation on here. Yeah, it's very subtle with the halation, so we're gonna go ahead and turn it up just a little bit. Even if it's not completely accurate to how the actual film stock is, this is your image, this is your photo, you can edit it however you want. As you can tell, the bloom is very subtle with this image. It is kind of a darker image, especially the bottom half of it. If we turn up Amplify, you can really kind of see it start to shine, and it actually gives a little bit of life to the buildings, which I think looks really nice. And it doesn't go crazy overboard up top here where the sun is shining on those buildings. Let's just give a quick little reduction to the film grain, and I think this image already looks really, really good. I think Dehancer is a really nice kind of professional alternative to VSCO. I don't know about anyone else, but when I started taking photos, instead of editing photos in Lightroom, I was importing my photos into VSCO and editing my photos that way. So this is kind of more of a modern professional take on that. And when you compare the before and after, it's not too dramatic. It doesn't look overly edited. It actually looks really, really nice. It made parts of the image a little bit darker, which is fine. But if it's that big of a deal for you, you can always bring it back in Lightroom and up the shadows just a little bit. Although I would recommend making any further exposure tweaks before you import the photo into Dehancer. This next photo I'm excited to play around with because I shot this photo before the sun came up, so it's kind of like it's not really nighttime here, but it's a darker image, and I was photographing some lights, and I already had a mist filter on my lens. So we're gonna see how the halation and the bloom in Dehancer interacts with a mist filter that's already applied to an image. So let's just see what we're working with some of the film presets in here. I think I'm gonna stick with the Kodak Ektar. Now let's go down here and play with the halation and the bloom. Let's turn on the bloom and see what we're working with. Okay, it doesn't actually do anything too crazy, which is nice. It's kind of the difference. I think I shot this on a Black Pro Mist 1/8. Kind of just increases it, makes it look like you had maybe a 1/4 or a 1/2 on there. Then I think the halation, that red halation on there actually adds a very nice touch to the image that it didn't have before. I wish I would have had this a long time ago. The next photo is one of my favorites. I'm going to go ahead and apply my presets on here. Let's go ahead and increase the contrast. Let's do that, maybe reframe it just a little bit. Now I'm excited to see what we can do with Dehancer for this photo. We're not going to apply any film presets to this, so we're gonna go straight down to the halation. Oh wow, I like that a lot actually. Obviously, I don't want to go too overboard with it. You can see I was reacting to the walls on the bridge there. It is very strong. And I like the effect that it has on the bus there on the front. But I think we're gonna tone it down to about right there. And then I expect the bloom to, oh, that looks great actually. That looks awesome. And I don't think I really need to do any more tweaks to that. I think that looks great. I think this photo is one of the best examples of what Dehancer can do, and it can really enhance a photo by dehancing it. Another thing I really appreciate about Dehancer and the halation and the bloom is that when you're using a Black Pro Mist filter, it decreases the overall contrast of the image significantly. Now there's alternatives like Glimmer Glass that might not do that, but I think Dehancer is also another great alternative to where you don't have to worry about buying different mist filters, ones that will fit each of your lenses or step up, step down rings. you can just do it in Dehancer and it actually looks really, really good. And that's all of the photos we're going to edit with Dehancer. Obviously, there are some things I did a little bit differently than if I were actually editing these photos to post online or on Instagram or to go in my portfolio. Personally, I would probably not add one of the film presets in Dehancer. I would just go through and add some bloom and halation, very subtle, just to add to the image a little bit more. But overall, I'm extremely happy with this product, and it makes me more interested to actually try the Dehancer for video editing as well. Now, the only caveat to Dehancer is it is rather pricey. I think it's about $200 US, but there is a trial version you can download and try out. But if you enjoy using the trial version, I do have a coupon for 10% off. The coupon code is Dylan Blackburn, as you can tell right here on the screen. But overall, I really enjoy using this program to enhance my photos. I think it's a really nice touch. I don't know if I will use them on all of my photos in the future. It definitely seems to work best on photos that do have a large amount of highlights in them, so it might not work as well if you're taking photos on a cloudy day. But let me know what you guys think about Dehancer. There's probably some things in the program I missed or did not go over, but let me know if you have any questions, and I will be happy to answer them in the comments down below. But if you enjoyed this video, please like the video and subscribe to help support me so I can continue growing and reaching a larger audience, and I hope I could inspire you guys to take more photos. Go out and shoot.